Welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. I'm actually en route right now to see Licorice Pizza over on Beware of Spoilers. For that podcast, a trailer dropped today, and I wanted to take a minute to talk about it a little bit because it's kind of a big deal. And I think I'm turning around on this movie. In the past, I've had my misgivings about the Batman. Because I've said, I feel like this movie, it feels like, we don't need to do this, where it's like, the perpetually getting darker and darker and darker Batman stories and all of that. This trailer that really showcases Catwoman. It's called The Bat and the Cat, is the name of this trailer. And you have to watch it. What it does is it frames the story more than what it is. And there are a few things that I want to point out about this. Number one, I've seen the Batman trailer a few times now because they show it before every fucking movie you go. I'm actually anticipating seeing it again when I get to the theater in 20 minutes or so to see Licorice Pizza. I'm anticipating seeing the Batman trailer again because the movie comes out in March, and then, they're going to blitz with that movie before everything. Like Morbius is going to have it before, the 355 is going to have it before. There should be a bunch of movies that have this show before it. So I've seen it 5 more times, more than watching it on my phone. And number one, really love the theme. No joke, the theme of this movie, the musical theme for this Batman is great. I love it. That's one thing. The second thing is, as we get more pieces of the puzzle as to what this movie is going to be, there are 2 things that are becoming abundantly clear. Number one, this is very heavily noir inspired, and even more so now than before we can say that, because it appears that Catwoman's going to have an active role, and she's going to be the traditional femme fatale role. And if you've seen, Nightmare Alley, she could be the role Cate Blanchett has in Nightmare Alley, in a similar archetypal role, not so much as a character who is, going to clearly be a psychiatrist who's, just as bad. But it is that kind of thing where it's okay, whatever. I know you're a fire department, but if you don't have your lights on, you can't just blow through stop signs. Anyway, and you're speeding through a school zone, and just put your fucking lights on if you're going to do that. Anyway, it's obvious that's the role she's going to have here. She's going to be the equally competent female counterpart who is just as broken as the protagonist, broken in a different way, but still just as, his equal. And I think that that's an interesting, quandary they're going to have to deal with, is Catwoman being in this role. And I think it's a really smart idea. Now, that's one thing. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that there have been rumors that Paul Dano, his Riddler, is not really the Riddler. And I think that what I saw this in regard to was that, I think it was the first trailer, there are people who are wearing a lot of clown makeup. So it's what if it's not really him? What if he's really the Joker? And I'm okay. Alright, I could see that. Based on that. I wouldn't have been happy with that, because I don't think we need another Joker movie. But I can deal with, that was one of the things that kind of was I don't need more Joker. I've seen enough Joker. I've seen Jared Leto be the Joker. I've seen Heath Ledger, was the best. But I okay, cool. Well, let's ride with this and see how it goes. I was a little bit more articulately against it initially, but I was kind of resigned to it. Kind of more well, if this is gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Nothing I can do to stop it. So whatever. So all of that said, I think it's not the Joker who, if Paul Dano is not actually the Riddler, and I think that with this idea that Barry, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's the guy who played Druig in The Eternals. He's in the movie in an undisclosed role. I think, and this is pure speculation on my part, I think there's a chance he's playing the real Riddler, not the Joker, because I don't think he can carry off the Joker. I don't think that's something he can necessarily do. Now, I want to say he can do and do well, but I don't think it's necessarily something he can, I don't think that's something that would work within who he is as an actor, having seen him in, 2 things ever, and one of which was Eternals. I don't think Joker would work. I could see him as the Riddler, and I could see Paul Dano as Hush. And in a world where this is... And the thing is, that fucking the guy from the fire department, he did all of that, and he's just 2 cars ahead of me. What the fuck? Anyway, in a world where, if he's playing someone different, I think Hush works better in a noir world, because of who Hush is as a Dark Mirror parallel to Bruce Wayne, who was left with nothing after the death of Thomas Wayne. And the fact that the new, the new synopsis dives into his childhood a little bit more, makes me think we're going to be playing around with and it's also year 2. That's also been very clear from the beginning, is that this is year 2 Batman. All of that compounded on itself really tells me that Hush would fit well in this world that they've built, as the villain. And I think he'd be the best suited to be the villain of this world. And the thing is, I see a lot of shades of The Long Halloween with, him and Catwoman teaming up to try and solve this mystery, and, taking the world's greatest detective angle to solving this crime is a pretty interesting approach, all things considered. Again, can't necessarily guarantee that, any of that's accurate. This is all my speculation. But I think that if that's the case, they could do 2 versions of the movie, and that would line up too, where if it's 2 versions of the movie, one revealing the real Riddler, one not revealing the real Riddler, that could also work. And it would explain why they're going incredibly far out of their way to not show the Riddler's face in the trailer. Paul Dano's face is not at all seen in any of the trailer. And I think that there's something there to that. And I think that it's the only explanation that clearly explains why all of these things are happening, mixed with what the story is. It's really the only, thread that follows through the entire story. So, it's just food for thought. It's just, it's a thought I had after I had watched the trailer on my lunch break, when I was waiting to get my booster, and it's just a thought I had where it's it's clearly noir inspired, very clearly. Even the labyrinthian, treatment of Gotham, goes into that a little bit, where it's Gotham is this giant maze, and it's, it's kind of that's just how I feel about the whole thing. And it's if it was just him chasing a serial killer, that's not the best use of a noir. But you want to put him into the noir is based in moral quandaries. And if there is no moral quandary, in this case, how do I deal with my half-brother who I didn't know about, but my father knew about, and my father abandoned, and then he died, and now this guy is doing this? How do I deal with that, and how do I reconcile with that with the man I knew? That's a great story to tell, especially when you're using this visual style. And that works. Like, everything about that in my head clicks. And it also makes sense as to why they're not showing Paul Dano's face. Because if he was playing the Riddler, there is nothing about the Riddler's appearance that would require you to not show his face in the trailer. And the thing is, too, they would definitely have shown the costume by now, if that was the case. And we have very little to go on with the plot. It all kind of clicks in when you frame it this way. And I sound like a conspiracy theorist, because conspiracy theories basically function the same way, where it's like, if we cut the puzzle pieces a certain way, it all fits together and makes a picture. But this is really the only thing, based on the gaps that we have. This is the picture that makes the most sense. Not, it's just. I don't think it is just the Riddler. I feel like that would be a strange approach. I'll be happy with it if it is just the Riddler, and it's not. If it's just the Riddler and it's not, what's what I'm looking for? If it's just the Riddler and it's not the only outcome I won't be happy with is if it's actually the Joker, because I would not be happy with the Joker. So until the next episode, which will be next Sunday, I put this week's episode up late, that's on me. But until next Sunday, have a great rest of your week.